What's up, Ramblers? Your favorite CEO is back. And before we begin today's podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode. And follow Assistance HQ and Offsource HQ across all platforms to stay up to date on the latest content, updates, and more. And remember, if you need a virtual assistant, visit us at offsource.tech. Now, before we begin, a word from our sponsor. Hey guys, welcome back to another wonderful episode of The Ramblings. I'm your host, Angelo Roberts, and I have today with us Emily Reagan. She is another virtual assistant. As you guys know, we've been having a lot of virtual assistants on the podcast lately, and I'm extremely excited to have her. She's the owner of Emily Reagan PR, and we're extremely excited to have her. Talk to us, Emily. Introduce yourself. Give us a small tidbit.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited about this conversation and to help business owners learn how to grow their teams and what they need to do to keep virtual assistants on their teams, really. But I am a military spouse. I have moved 12 times in 19 years, and you can already see why this remote work was way good for me back in 2019, I think is when I first started. And I said yes. I was an accidental freelancer and I wasn't really looking for work. I had just had my first son. I was in my dream job. We were transitioning. My husband just got orders to move back here to DC. And I just knew I couldn't go back to the 9 to 5. And I'd already done some little projects with press release writing and leaning into my skill and my trade, but I hadn't really thought about freelancing as my future at all. And I really had no vision for it. And I feel so lucky for podcasts like this and, mentors like you and me, where people can just get the fast track, because I didn't have these options back then. And I just didn't know what I didn't know. So I said yes to this one client. It was actually a brick and mortar client. It was a friend of a friend. Yeah. It was a brick and mortar and I was moving away, but he had a small print shop and he's like, can you help me with PR? I'm like, yeah, I got that in the bag. I know the Oklahoma City media market. We're good. And then he's like, can you help me with this other thing called Facebook marketing, which at the time was new. We didn't really have all the Facebook and social media strategy that are like common knowledge to you and me now. And I'm like, yeah, I can figure that out. I'd been doing it a little bit in some of my jobs, but I just said yes. And one thing led to another. Since then, I now have a 6-figure business. I have a course teaching women how to do what I do. I, at one point, had an agency. I've helped clients make $1 million. I've worked with over 100 different clients and I have a 6-figure business, which is awesome. So that was all from 2009 till now. So it was not overnight. There's a lot of work, a lot of clients, a lot of adapting and learning.
I absolutely love that. Now, as someone who started in technically 2019, there's a large difference there. I would like to start with some technical questions and kind of really get the feel for things. You said you started in 2009, which, as we know, is a very different business landscape than it is today.
Yeah.
What was it like trying to educate people or even explain what it's like to try to work from home or help these, small business owners as a virtual assistant? What was some of your explaining that you had to do?
It was interesting because I was in such a phase of life where I wasn't really looking to scale or grow. I was just kind of happy doing the work. But I think that marketing work has always been lend itself to being remote. Right. So that part was easy. I think there were more, my clients were going after the talent, and I had such a rare skill set. I had taken my PR work. I had learned marketing. I'm a strong writer. And so I had something people wanted. So they didn't care where I lived. And being military, it was awesome and being a mom, it was awesome because most of my clients were in similar boats, as, female business owners. And I worked with a lot of creatives, a lot of designers and bloggers and furniture painters. I kind of got in that little niche world, and it already lent itself to being virtual. And so we've definitely seen this shift. I mean, I've seen it even in my husband's work. The Pentagon was trying to do remote 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And they've been trying to do remote for DC for years, for a decade, because that area is so expensive, right? And they're trying to attract talent. But people don't want to live in DC. I know we don't want to deal with 495 and 95. So it's interesting how the pandemic sent 30,000 people home from the Pentagon. They finally got real, we can do this. So if the government's adapting, small business all over, those business owners are adapting too. So I kind of had it made, and I didn't really have a lot of challenges because once I proved myself and built my reputation, clients always found me. Like I really didn't do much marketing. And I tell you, I was very ignorant about it when I first started. Like I got kind of lucky, especially knowing it was 2009 and I was an OG.
Right. Okay, so yeah, that actually makes you, like, as you said, an OG virtual assistant. Now, as you were growing your business, things have, as we said, dramatically shifted. And I'm going to ask you kind of like a theory question in this sense. Would you rather start a virtual assistant business in 2009 or 2019?
Oh, good question. Definitely now, because there's just
Oh,
less there. I think, I mean, well, the best time to plant a tree was what, like 20 years ago. But I think the work opportunities are exploding right now.
mhm,
I get a lot of jobs coming to my small group of people, and there's too much work. There's
right.
so much work. So people right now have their pick of the litter. They can really call the shots as an independent contractor and pick their
Mhm.
clients, pick their services, and there's just less education. Like it's a little bit more powerful right now for the
Right.
contractor. I think there's like a power swing, and you talked about this here on the podcast with the Great Resignation and people wanting they want their ideal job. Like they
Mhm.
want work-life balance. Like we don't need to make the mistake the boomers made, right? And I
I
mean,
agree.
we know that, we know better, and so we're demanding it, and it's kind of cool.
I think one of the big things that, especially within my generation, that I've seen is because of the internet and the information available, especially as I become a VA and started seeing, like, I would call like the veil of secrecy taken down for certain things, the behind the scenes. People have been gatekeeping certain roles and office positions and just industries as a whole, which as a VA allows for us to break into so many of these different kinds of industries that were gate kept before. And now we realize the real actual parameter is, can you get the job done well? Right? It's a creative kind of thing. Being like, I don't think that college should be the parameter for, are you a good marketer? Because marketing is something that has to do with the people. How well are you at connecting with people? Now, in terms of being a VA in this particular sense, there's so many things that are broken down. What made you focus kind of in that PR space? You said you had PR before, but we've
Yeah.
now moved into a really digital world. What has been that change that you've seen from working in PR in a corporate setting to, PR and social media in 2009 versus PR and social media in 2022?
Well, I think about the first task I did. I used to work for Jennifer Allwood, who's a pretty big creative Christian business coach. And the first task that she hired me for, her first project, was to create a media kit. And
Mm,
I had my retainer client, I'd had a couple of babies. So, I was like just kind of going nice and slow, but already in the span of sitting out a couple years on the sidelines, I'm going to
mhm,
say that. I mean, I was going slow here. Even the word media kit had changed. It
right.
used to be something that you delivered in person to a newsroom with like a bag of donuts, and like you were really fostering relationships. And when Jennifer had hired me, I knew the words. Like
Mhm,
I knew what that was. I've worked on a news desk, I've worked in PR, like I've seen a bunch of them, I put them together, but in the online space, everything had changed and it was all digital. And so now when I say media kit, we're thinking about like what you would put together for an influencer, right? To get like brand collaborations and
right.
sponsorships and whatnot. So I just had to do research and figure it out. And it was interesting. I mean, I think that's why I love this industry or this topic, because it's always changing. It's so dynamic. It's never stagnant. So even if you're feeling behind, it's easy to catch up, and all you have to do is be willing to figure it out, like you talked about, like willing to show up and do the work. And there's some research involved in that too. So things have changed drastically. Like I mean, I don't want to like date myself here, but I remember when Instagram came out and people started using it more robustly for business, right?
Mhm.
And I just remember being like, I don't want to learn this. Like, I don't want to learn another thing. I mean, I still have grandma tendencies. And I think it's just because overwhelm and there's like so much that needs to be happening.
Mhm.
But I adapted and I learned it. It's going right. And now what's the platform everyone's on now? It's like TikTok. Now we're like learning that. And I mean, it's just never going to stop. So if you don't have that attitude, if you don't embrace like the growth mindset, like you're
Mm.
just not going to cut it in this area. So I went off on a tangent there and now I don't even remember your question.
No, I absolutely agree, and I think it fits perfectly. But it leads me into something else that you said. You were an agency owner, no longer owning an agency. I, as
Yeah.
someone who am just now starting to build an
Yeah.
agency, we're on that tail end, beginning end of things. What was it like to build an agency, and why are you no longer an agency owner?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to talk about this with you. Okay, I was just flooded with work. I was flooded with work. And I thought, oh my gosh, I know all these very overeducated, underemployed military spouses in my realm. At the time, I was living in South Florida. A lot of us couldn't find work. Military spouses statistically have high degrees and low employment. It's just like the nature of moving, right?
Okay,
A lot of
right.
smart, mainly spouses. I'm going to say women, like 92% are women. So I'm just going to say women and not offend people. But I was looking around at some of my peers, and we all like want to use our brains and work and contribute. And we don't want to just wear our spouse's rank. Like we have our own thing. We went to school, we had careers. And so I was like looking around at different women. I'm like, you can come work for me. Like I can teach you this. Right. So I kind of had a heart for the small business owner. I hate saying no. I'm a little bit of a people pleaser and I want to help them. The reason I got so flooded, like I said before, is I had this magical skill set, which is why I run with the term unicorn. I could do PR. I could do marketing. I could help out with admin. I understood what businesses were trying to do online.
Right.
And they couldn't find enough people like that with a good work ethic, with the growth mindset. It's like all of that combined. And I just started training my friends, quite honestly. And at one point I had the commander's wife working for me, which was pretty freaking cool. Wow. Right. And I mean, she's just a person. She's just like a woman who wanted to use her brain and have her own thing. And so at one point I had 8 women, all in part-time roles. And I had done what you've talked about here on the podcast is I created my SOPs. Like, this is what I do. A lot of my work was focused on growing and nurturing an audience and selling to that audience. So it's a lot of marketing work. It's a lot of content marketing, SEO. And so I just put my SOPs together and it was great. And I made a lot of mistakes as far as like, I should have charged more. I should have paid attention to some of those numbers. But what happened was my husband deployed for a year and I just found myself managing people all the time. And my creative brain just didn't like it. I wasn't good at it. My follow through was terrible. And I didn't have childcare help. And I'll tell you what happened. I had a girl on my team not do her work for the week. She didn't do her work for the week. And so I log in Thursday to see like if she did it, to check her stuff. She'd done nothing. And then she gave me some lame excuse about how her dog escaped. Meanwhile, my husband's deployed and I'm kind of going through hell and there's more stuff, family drama that I don't even want to talk about. And I'm like, just because your dog ran away for a few hours, you didn't do your work for the week. And I was like, yeah. So the client fired me. And I learned a big lesson. The client was kind of a red flag client anyway that I wanted to let go. So like I was okay. It wasn't personal, but I just learned a big lesson there that I didn't want to manage people. I should have had someone there managing them. Like I should have had that person, especially knowing I was going into a year alone with 4 kids in South Florida. So I learned my lesson there, but I also learned like that doesn't light me up. You know, it just didn't.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Everyone knows exactly where they are. And I feel like there's business enough for everybody. So, but there's a key thing there. You said you were able to get 8 military wives under working with you and everything, and you built a team. And so previously, before we kind of started recording, we talked about this whole Great Resignation thing. And I had made the statement that I don't think that there's a hiring shortage or even a worker shortage. There's a shortage of people that want to do the work for you at your price. Now, with like price and cost in terms of payment being a big issue for business owners, not wanting to pay as little as possible, but wanting the most amount of work, which has then, kind of bled into now quiet quitting, which is, okay, well, I'll give you exactly what you asked for, but nothing more, nothing less. As business owners, we kind of have somewhat of an expectation for breakout stars to go above and beyond in some way. How do we manage these expectations, manage people? What is the secret sauce, especially if you're going to be hiring remote workers, in order to get that good balance of being firm, but being, understandable of today's, employee powers? Yeah,
I love this. I really think it's about how you treat your people. I was saying earlier about we have our pick of the litter. Like I have a wait list of people who would love to get my brain on their business. And I'm just not going to jump into bed with anybody. And I'm lucky I'm at this point where I know this and I've experienced it. I've kissed a lot of toad clients. I've figured out what works, what lights me up, the management styles that I work well with. And not everyone's like has all of that clarity, but I have been doing this for 13 years. But I really, and it's not always money, but it's about treatment and communication style and the way the team makes you feel. Like a lot of us, especially in my world, we are moms who want to work between 9 and 2. There's a reason we don't want to go back to the 9 to 5. We don't want to resume our 60-hour work week. And that's okay. Like the freelancer mindset is different. It's entrepreneurial, but it's also, I don't know how to say this, but we're also very privy to this like dream work-life balance. Like we know this, we don't need to make the mistakes. We want things to be balanced. We don't want to give all to the man, you know, we don't. We've all been there and done that, or we've learned from other people or watched enough media to know better, right? So I think it's about appreciation. It's about value. I mean, there are all kinds of employees out there. I know people, and this is like a rant of mine. I see a lot of big wigs on, I'm sorry, I think that was my Voxer going off. Let me shut that tab. I'm sorry. I know a lot of very successful business owners, and I get a lot of jobs. I get a lot of jobs in my network. So I get to see who people are hiring and what they want to pay. There are a lot of cheapskates out there. And I just found out there's this big, big wig, you know, business coach teaching everyone to just hire full time and to give that person a lot of work and pay them very little. And I'm like, it gets me so riled up, you know, when we're like, already people are being taught to do this. People are being taught to hire overseas. And I've heard bigwig coaches call people overseas like talentless and then want to.
Oh my God. Oh no, please.
$2 an hour.
No. As a VA, like I want to stick up for other VAs. This is a whole rabbit hole conversation.
I know.
It burns me up. And I feel like so many other countries are going to start passing people by because they have not like, especially because I have people in the US, I have people overseas. And some of the things I've learned are, I think every single one of my overseas VAs is probably smarter than me. Like because they're still college over there. They're doing secondary schools. They're going for things like biochemistry, biomed, you know, engineering, software engineering, you know, all like doctorates and stuff like that. And they speak a second language, 2, 3, 4 languages on average almost over there. And they can read English, take the work, translate it, do everything they have to do and still be on time in a different time zone. And I'm like, I'm supposed to think I'm the smart one? Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. But like, it is so aggravating that people are literally teaching, oh, go overseas because they're not as skilled. And so you can pay them $5 an hour. What makes them not as skilled? Data entry is data entry. If the job got completed for $5 an hour, it still could have been completed if you paid them 15, and it's still the quality of work is there. There's like, you can't tell the difference unless you're looking for a breakdown of information in color coding. A spreadsheet is a spreadsheet no matter what. 1 + 1 = 2 on that spreadsheet. And it's, unless you want it to look pretty, the work was still accomplished very well. Yeah, thorough, detailed, accurate. Oh my gosh, you just threw me on a, oh my God. I know. It really upsets me. But it's not everybody, right? But it's we have to figure out who's we're sticking with. And so a lot of my students who go through my course, I'm like, test it out. Try it out, find those clients that treat you well. And it's also about boundaries. Who's going to accept your boundaries? Who's going to text you at 10 p.m. at night? Who's going to make you feel guilty about money? I have a former client that there's just something about her energy. It's a scarcity mindset, and it makes me not want to go above and beyond because I feel like she's very limited. And, you know, there's just all these little things that come into it. I was working with a client, helped her on her launch, but there was one year I couldn't help as much. And you can guess what year it was. It was the year my husband was gone, right? And I had done all the legwork to grow her email list, to show up consistently and really build success for this launch, right? Success in a launch is the pre-launch, right? You set yourself up when that cart opens. Well, I couldn't actually man the Zendesk like I had in the past. I mean, and we had a bigger team. It wasn't a big deal. Nothing fell, no balls were dropped. And she told me that year, I probably shouldn't even share this story, but she told me I wasn't as valuable that launch, and I quit.
I quit. I was like, so everything I've done setting you up was not valued. And so it's not just about money, it's about treatment. Do I
Right.
appreciate a launch bonus? Yes. I've gotten some really nice launch bonuses for helping, right? I've gotten Christmas bonuses. I've gotten baby gifts and treats in the mail and a meal delivery. Like I appreciate that stuff. I think my love language, I think you need to know your team's love language. It
Okay.
could be acts of service. It could be gifts. For me, it's always quality time. I had a client come to the town I was in, and she told me we would meet up for dinner, and then she stood me up. So guess, like she got busy, but that's not cool. Like not cool.
Right.
And that said everything I needed to know. Right. So, I mean, I'm giving you like all the trash talk.
No, listen. We're here. We're sharing this. This is other VAs. We need, because I feel that sometimes sharing our negative experiences, people like to say, "Oh, that's just being negative." Sometimes,
Yeah.
but especially as if we're on a podcast and there's other people that are potentially able to go through a similar experience, I want to be able to say, hey, this is how you can navigate these kind of waters. This is something that's important to know. Not everyone is going to treat you well or treat you with the respect that you think you have now as someone who works for yourself. And you have to be able to recognize that, navigate that professionally, and be able to recuperate. But you had mentioned that you have to know your love languages. Now, as an owner, we have so many people with so many different love languages. How did you find out that was your love language? Like, how did you know I would like to have this kind of treatment from a client? This is what I'm willing to accept.
Yeah.
Did you have a point where something happened and it was like, that is just what I cannot have happen again, and I need to change that?
Well, I told this story about someone being in my town. That always hurts when a friend comes to town, even if they're like, I'm too busy to see you. Like, just talk to me. Like, don't just like ghost me. But to give you the positive refrain of that, I had another client have an extra ticket to go to Sue McLaren's conference. So she brought me as a +1. And to me, I was so happy. It was kind of like my hall pass as a mom. I got so much business out of that. I got a business idea, even though I was there to support her. It made me feel so good that she saw me as a valued team member. It felt so nice to meet her up in person and have a beer in Toronto and be learning together and having ideas. Like I like to be included on the team, like because I do like to go above and beyond. So thinking about that, that's just who I am. But I did read that book, The 5 Love Languages, which is really good for all of your relationships, even with children, parents, and there's 5 of them. And I don't need to rehash that one, but a lot of people can be words of affirmation too. So not, there's a quiz I heard you could take, and I actually keep meaning to look this up, Angelo, but you can evaluate your employees. Like part of your onboarding for your team, whether contractors or employees, should be to ask these questions. Gather their birthday, gather their address. I've had clients send gifts to the wrong address when I moved 2 years ago. And I'm like, I'm kind of insulted. You didn't keep up with where I'm living. I mean, I move all the time. I'll kind of give them a break, but still it kind of hurt. I'm like, you don't know I'm now in a new state, but okay. So do
that means you haven't taken the time throughout to stay in contact with me to keep the relationship.
Yeah. And here's the thing with being a freelancer. And I know we say virtual assistant, it's like any type of digital service, right? We're in it to have fun. We could go back to our 9 to 5. We could waltz down the street and get that job, but we don't want it. We have a special attitude, and we kind of need our ego stroked a little bit, right? And like we do get our choice. And so we want the work to be fun. We're not going to build a freelance business on work we hate that's in our drudgery zone. We want the clients to be fun. I don't need to be besties, but I want to get along with you. I want to like have a good rapport. I want to have a relationship. And the people and for me, one of my values happens to be fun. Like I don't want to work for someone who's a Debbie Downer, who, is mean or is like, oh gosh, then there's the whole chaotic client who can't get you the deliverables that you need to do your work. I mean, I could just go on and on.
Oh my God. Yes, there are so many things that happen, but in terms of a love language, you had mentioned that when you're working with other freelancers, sometimes it's not about the money. I want to get really nitty gritty and talk to the business owners for a second. How can, as business owners, we support, grow, and foster our team without using a dollar sign?
Yeah. A lot of encouragement and shout out, like any type of leader you do any kind of leadership training, it's when you can call someone out in public in a positive way in front of their peers is always good. How can you help like in front of the team in a team meeting, shout outs to people doing a good work. Maybe it's in your Slack channel, things like that. But then also with Freelancer, a really big love language is shouting out in terms of testimonials and referrals. Now I've had clients, I told you, I'm like giving all the negative examples here. I've heard and I've seen this, and I'm like very deep in the world, so I'm hearing it from both sides. I know that sometimes people don't want to share their VA. They like want to keep them close because they're afraid they'll leave them, right? So that happens too, and that doesn't make anyone feel good, right? But being able to refer, and you've talked about this on the podcast, when someone shouts someone else out, it like gets them new business. So that's like coming back to your freelancer, like, how can I help you? Giving them a raise every year. Just taking the initiative and doing that. I mean, they're going to ask you for one anyway. They should be doing that frequently and regularly, but you taking the initiative first just gives you like good brownie points, right? No, I know you said not a dollar sign though. I got some swag in the mail once that made me feel part of the team. I got a t-shirt. I kind of liked it.
Now, one of the things, because you've mentioned this a little bit, is like being part of the team and how you're working. When you were running your agency, or even now when you work with companies, what is your level of integration with the team? Each VA works differently and in different capacities. How are you? What is your integration level when you're working with other companies?
So I've kind of been like ever evolving with my skill set. So I'm kind of a marketing manager level. So a lot of times I'll come in, do a marketing audit, clean some things up, write some SOPs, assign tasks, and then I leave. I just quit my last retainer client. And just because I've had so many like fires going, and I have a course that I'm running in a membership, and I needed to stop the retainer clients just for my sanity. And so now I'm trying to containerize that into more VIP days and projects, and like I'll build marketing funnels and whatnot. But I think that I'm thinking about this client I was working on right before this podcast, like just making sure her marketing assistants and her VAs like know what to do and have the right SOP and how to do it to set them up for success. Because I think that's probably the number one failure, is that communication of expectation and people being organized to say how they want it done. Like I see a lot of people being frustrated because they couldn't communicate it. And a lot of small business owners, they're new to being a leader or a manager. Like they've never done this before. And so kind of recognizing that it's this refinement process, they're learning to delegate. It's not going to be all perfect. So I try to come help with that when I can.
Now, you mentioned that you didn't do a lot of marketing, and especially in 2009, where VAs were not this big deal. Over the past, from 2019 to 2022, we've seen, especially in the Google keyword search, a virtual assistant has gone up exponentially. What was your primary driving factor in how you grew your business back then?
Oh my gosh. So I had my business idea to start doing a course in 2018. The first thing I did, I had a glass of wine and made a real crappy website on a Saturday night. I got that up, and then I started blogging because I knew the power of search traffic. I had been doing that for clients for years. And so that organic traffic has, I think, made me the most success, because I'm found on YouTube, I'm found on Pinterest, I'm found through searching. And with all these iOS updates, everyone's like scrambling about ads. And I'm over here like, like I'm
content.
And
can't stop that. That's what they're increasing.
Yes. I love it. I love that. That should be like a meme right there. That should be a GIF. But yeah, so that was one of the first things I did. And you don't have to be blogging. I know when I say blogging, it sounds very like 2009, but I like to think of it as like core SEO cornerstone articles, like the pain points that your people are searching that lead to the next step of being you and your services. And so I think every VA who doesn't want to dance on TikTok should have a couple core articles. This one. Although I'm guilty.
Listen, we all try, because like if it works, it works. The information, they care about the information.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you went from running an agency to being a freelancer to now kind of being a coach for other VAs and
Yeah.
helping other mompreneurs grow their business. If someone else was going to be a virtual assistant, you're running people. What is like your core fundamental? You don't got to give everything away. We want people to
Yeah.
kind of come check everything out.
Yeah.
What do you I guess teach people in terms of the beginning stages of becoming a VA, especially if they're coming from like a corporate, normal 9 to 5 and
Yeah.
everything like that? What is the first kind of steps that you try to get them when they're transitioning to being a freelancer?
I think a lot of people get stuck on the business setup and the perfect hex colors and perfect logo, perfect onboarding system.
I'm
And
so glad you're saying that.
I am such a quick start, fast start on the Colby. Like I just go.
Mhm.
And I think that, excuse me, I think that holds up a lot of people because ultimately what we want as virtual assistants, we're usually looking for a couple core teams, couple core clients, maybe even one client to keep things simple. So
Mhm.
I don't think you need to stress about having the perfect Dubsado onboarding because hopefully you just get a couple clients and you're not like onboarding clients every month. Like I
Right.
want it to be easy and simple. So I really encourage new freelancers, new VAs to lean on the skill they already have, like I did with PR, because you will
Mhm.
be the most confident. You will be able to represent yourself well in a discovery call, and that will be attractive to clients. And then I teach get your foot in the door doing that, and then up level, because what happens is business owners don't want to go hire 15 different specialists. Like we usually don't have the funds for that. We
Mhm.
want some go-to people who figure it out. And when your business owner is stuck on something, if you go above and beyond, if you ask, you say yes to things you haven't done before, you will learn the most and you will up level within that business. And the second you start up leveling, you start shedding the stuff you don't want to do, and your business owner can start hiring it out or getting more help, or
Right.
maybe you get an admin assistant or something. So that's usually what I teach. But some people need um, sometimes it's hard to work with these clients who are a little all over the place, that have never hired before. And so
Right.
sometimes, working in an agency can be the best startup model because you get to get that client experience and that
Mhm.
clarity, and you're kind of in a safe spot. And then when you're ready to go on your own, that could be something you explore. But like when I disbanded my agency, a couple people stayed with me. Like they didn't want to go hunting for clients. They didn't want to be invoicing clients. And a couple others, I said, okay, just take these clients and go. And they ran with it. And
Right.
so it's interesting. Not everybody wants to have to do the lead gen, the business stuff. And so there's plenty of options.
Right. Oh, I absolutely agree. So I want to get into some more personal things. I feel like we've been doing a lot of biz talk, a lot of shop talk and everything. You mentioned that, you're a military wife, and you were in PR before you became a freelancer and everything like that. What was life like before '09?
Oh my gosh. It was, well, it was fun because I had no children.
Mhm. Okay.
My,
Always the fun parts.
yeah. So I got very lucky. I'm married very young. I'm married at 22. And so
Oh,
we
wow.
spent yeah, I know that was dumb. But he was going to Korea, and we were going to get married anyway. So we just did it. So I've always been kind of scrappy, finding my thing. I've always been independent. And for that year in Korea, while he was in Korea, I got a job at a newspaper. I bartended in the evening. Like I was working my butt off, and it felt good. It feels good to have my own money. And then we got
Right.
to Germany because that was his follow on. And oh my gosh, I almost lost it because I show up
Mhm.
and I see all these young newlyweds, my age, like 23, with big rocks on their hand, working like crappy jobs because we can't work in the economy as Americans. We have to work on base.
Right.
And I just kind of had this like, oh man, I don't get to use my degree. Like I didn't really know what I wanted to be, but I knew that I wanted to work. I didn't have a clear path. I'm always jealous of people who are like, I'm going to be a doctor, and then they do it. I'm like, I don't know. I did a journalism degree, and but I've like always been scrappy and industrious. And the air wing had a hiring freeze, so I couldn't even get like an office job. So I got a job bartending at Chili's, and then the kitchen caught on fire and it didn't open. And it just was like a rough spot in my life. Like, what am I going to do? Like my husband's working, and I don't want to be like just a trophy wife, you know? and I needed money because I'm in
Right.
Germany and I need to go play. And so I got really lucky that I ended up getting a public affairs job when the wing started hiring again. Cause like they all shut down around like contract time, the fiscal year. And they're
Right.
like, oh, government's gonna have no money. And then, then they hired me. And I think it's just been interesting, like kind of being second fiddle the whole time.
Mm.
Every time we've moved, I never had a job more than 40,000. And that was really rough. It was really rough starting over all the time. And it's not like you get a door to door job move. Like it takes
Right.
time for people to know who you are and convince them that you're smart and you're a good worker and you have no network. And I was hiring for a PR job. I was applying for a PR job and I was in the interview. And it was really scary because like nobody knew me and they had this candidate of all these other people. They
Mhm.
know I'm going to move. Like I can't hide this on my resume.
Right.
The boomer generation thinks we should just stay in a job for 30 years. And here, like I can't keep a job longer than 18 months. I look like a flaky flake. But when you look at my resume, it took some time for me to realize this. What does it show? That I'm adaptable, that I'm
Right.
dynamic, that I learn
Mm.
quickly. And I started to like shift that and embrace that.
Mhm.
And now in this online space, that pays off. Like that's the essence of what my unicorn digital marketing assistants do, like a little bit of everything. And it's okay to like variety and be a Jill of all trades. Like we do not have to be that like one track doctor mindset, right? Like we can be multi-passionate and explore things. And so like I came to all of this at the perfect time, right? Like I'm so glad this has happened. And I love just telling people about this opportunity because it has changed my life. It's given me like confidence. It's given me skills. Like if I needed to go back to the corporate gig, like I wouldn't get that $40,000 job. I'd get that $100,000 job now because I've dusted off my skills. I'm relevant and I have that entrepreneurial mindset. I have a high order thinking skills. Like I could demonstrate all of that after being a freelancer. That's a long story.
No, I love it. I love your energy. It's so positive, and I can almost like feel your aura through the computer. Now, you had said saying yes is very important. Saying yes to things that are that you don't normally would say, that you wouldn't normally say yes to. What is something? It doesn't have to even be recent, but what is one of the things that you said yes to that you were kind of on the fence about, didn't really know, and then it turned out to be like, this is an amazing opportunity, and I'm so happy I said yes.
Oh my gosh, I can name a couple of these. Almost anytime I first did any kind of tech integration,
Mhm.
I'm faking it. Like I might never have linked up ActiveCampaign with Deadline Funnel, but I know my brain can figure it out. I have
Mhm.
resources, I have peers, there's Google, there's YouTube. So almost anytime I do a tech stack integration, like I don't know. Like it's always different, but it's different combinations. Like you can't physically know everything in this space.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about being resourceful.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I have like done so much. I have helped a client get started with TikTok. I didn't know anything about TikTok. I'm learning.
Mhm.
I've helped clients like start their YouTube and sometimes they just need it going
Mhm.
and to kind of prove the model. And then they can bring in the big guns. They can bring in like the specialist, right?
Right.
So getting that going and getting that forward momentum sometimes is what they need. So I've done YouTube. Video editing for a long time scared the hell out of me. And it's so funny because my degree is broadcast and I did a lot of video production. I created the US Army's Welcome to Germany video right here. So all the like soldiers coming to, Germany got to watch my lame video, but I produced that and directed it. And then I would just have like the German guys in my office edit it. And I felt very like a fraud. Like I don't actually have the fast video editing skills.
Right.
And this was a couple years ago. And it like really intimidated me because my college degree, this is embarrassing, but they made us splice reels, like reel to reel with a razor. Even though the world was going clearly digital, they still made us do some analog stuff because they wanted us to learn.
Okay. I don't want to date myself here, but you're gonna have to explain to me what splicing a reel means without using the Splice app in Instagram Reels.
It comes from having reels of film
Uh-huh.
and needing to edit, and you physically cut the film and tape it together. That's how old I am. Man, I'm 40. But
I
so,
never knew that's how you edited videos. Oh
oh
my
my gosh, I
gosh.
just remember a cheerleader. Oh, like I was in a degree with a lot of sorority girls who wanted to be news anchors. And I remember one girl coming in there trying to cut it. And I'm like, you have to take the razor blade cover off and then cut it. But yeah, so I just felt like very insecure about my digital editing skills because of this. And of course, the year I graduated, they opened the brand new digital journalism building, right? So I like for years avoided video, but for years. And this is of course where everything's going, right? Everything is like short form video marketing. And so a couple years ago, I just randomly was like, I gotta, like, whatever is going in my head, that head trash, I'm like, you're capable, you have training, you know how to do news packages. Like, why are you avoiding this? So I put together a little promo video for my client with lots of like free B-roll. And I had an audio from her. So we could think of it as like a reel before reels were cool or at all a thing. And I just made myself do it. And now it's so funny because that's the thing I'm having the most fun with is videos and telling people how to do it. And now we have all these cool apps that make it easy. Like I don't have to go sit in this big Avid editing bay. Like anyone can video edit now. And I'm just like laughing at this like transformation in the journey and all of my roadblocks. And if I wanted to niche in video and just help people with reels and, Facebook ad, videos and VSLs, like that could be its own niche in of itself.
Oh my gosh. And with so many people doing it, I think it's there's really something for everybody, right? And
Yeah.
when you look at what most people are doing, it's not even like they're doing heavy video editing.
Oh,
It's really just a lot of advanced trimming for most of it. It's a lot of it's
like
advanced trimming.
and sloppy jump cuts. I mean, we're
Right.
super like, but like for reels and TikToks, like they don't need to be this level. It's like finding that sweet spot of being efficient and effective and getting it done. Because if we want to be a perfectionist about it, I had one lady putting a reel together for me on a video editor, and she said it took her 6 hours. And I'm like, no, like I know how to do it. Did not take you 6 hours. That's like too much. And she no longer works for me, but it's just it's interesting, just this like world, because it's so easy to do it now and anyone can do it. You don't need an actual degree. You do not need to have a marketing degree to do this.
Exactly. And I've had people, like there are people with marketing degrees that went to school before social media was a thing, and now they have to just learn it just like everybody else.
Yeah, because you don't learn application. You don't learn application in college. It's very much theory. I had a business minor. I remember that marketing 101 class was just straight up memorizing a bunch of terms, and it was such a waste of time. And now I'm like, I know everything about online marketing, and I love giving people that like solid foundation so they can get out there and apply it for their clients. But I don't even think colleges are teaching that now, are they? I did see a virtual assistant course at my community college.
I don't think so. No. So I our local community college, I do know that they have like an entrepreneurship class, which burns my biscuits because so especially in today's day and age, I'm like whenever I look at like how to start a business, what it's like to create a business plan, just anything in the beginning stages about business, the advice and information is so antiquated. There we go.
Yeah.
It's so antiquated. It's like this does not have to happen anymore. Like on top of it not happening anymore, like the cost of a lot of things has dropped substantially, and you can kind of start things on intuition, like doing $1,000 of market research. Not necessary for a lot of, like, we know virtual assistants, there's a market for it. There's other virtual assistants, there's other virtual assistant businesses. There's a market for that. A lot of things, especially in today's day and age, there's a market for that. So the market research, very, very minimal. You just have to know, are you able to break into that kind of market? Now, one of the things I've really been kind of pondering with is how does this translate now to what we look for when we're trying to hire either a VA or making, our first hire? As you mentioned, a lot of owners are trying to make like that first hire. They've never really led before. There's an entire change in terms of how employees have power, and owners have to adjust to that because when I was, at least when I was growing up, business was cold shoulders, elbows, and very Wolf of Wall Street. So
Yeah.
what should we be looking for nowadays when we're trying to hire either a VA or freelancer, or even just someone for our business? It doesn't have to be a freelancer, but when we're looking to make that hire with this knowledge of, schools only teaching but so much, what are you
Yeah.
paying attention to when you're looking for people that you're working with, or what did you look for?
Okay. I'm going to back that up for 1 second. There's two things you need for a business.
Mhm.
You need time and you need money
I
to
agree.
fuel your business. So you usually have one more than the other, right? And most business owners, they don't have enough time to really get to the place they're going. So if you don't hire and you don't get help, you're going to stay stuck, and it's just going to take you 10 times longer or whatever. I don't have any stats on that. It's just the truth of the nature. So when you're hiring, you need to think about, what is this person going to do? Is it time saving or is it money making? Because as a business owner, you need to be focusing on the money making tasks. And that should be anything that's visible, anything that's one-to-one client work, anything that's like product development. That should be the 20% of your focus that gets you the 80% of the results in your business, right? That's the Pareto principle. So you need to hire out the 80%. It's okay if some of those tasks are time saving, because if it saves you time, it lets you focus on what you need to. And some business owners get caught in this like scarcity mindset, or this expense mindset, where everything's just costing me money and they're not looking at the return, or they're hiring someone to save them time and expecting money out of it. It's like this, it's just like not incongruent.
Oh, I want you to go into a
Yeah.
little bit more detail on that, because that's something I see a lot of owners like mixing up, saving
Yeah.
time but expecting like an actual dollar from that, where that's not what that is. Can you explain that a little bit deeper?
Well, think about what those money-making tasks are too. Those money-making tasks, if they're making you money, they usually lend themselves to any kind of value-based pricing, right? Where you are paying for results rather than like an hour in, hour out. So anything that's making you money, you're going to be paying more for. And a lot of us don't have that ability. So that's like what you need to spend your time on. And again, we talked about the visibility. That's why Facebook ads managers can charge so much, right? Because they're literally bringing in leads and sales, and they can track it and prove it. So you got to think about where you are and what you need help with. And maybe you need to focus on the money making. You need to have the sales conversations. You need to handle the low hanging fruit, and not just expect to hire that out to somebody for $15 an hour. Right. So the time saving is so important. And I mean, this is such like a block for business owners, because I'm sure you've heard this. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. I mean, I'm a big black kettle. I love to like format a blog and like, do SEO research. Is that the best use of my time for this place in my business? Knowing where I want to go. Yeah, I'm really good at formatting emails and tagging and sequencing and doing all of that inside my email service provider. But I want to be at the level where I say to my team, send out this email. And it gets done. And they just know my system. So it's thinking about that business where you want to go to, like, what are the things you can be doing now to set you up, especially if you get in this position where you're at max capacity, like, what do you need help with first? Another thing I teach too is, what is not getting done? And is it a priority? And for a lot of people, that is PR. It's pitching themselves on podcasts. It's guest blogging. It's making a strategic partner relationships. And if those things aren't getting done, those are all like heavy needle movers for your business that like will make you money. If they're not getting done, then you need to hire the help. If you want to stay stuck, don't hire help. And so, and this other thing, I know I'm like throwing a lot at you, when you're hiring somebody, I think the number one thing you need is comfort with ambiguity. Somebody who is okay being in a new situation, figuring it out, and taking on the challenges. So many business owners get stuck on the tech stack. I need somebody who knows my specific tech stack, these payment processors, these email service providers, this website. And guess what? That person's going to be like $500 an hour because they're good and they're specific. What you need to do is find that teammate mentality and train that person up, like I talked about. And the number one thing you need to look for is that growth mindset. Is someone okay being uncomfortable and figuring it out? And sometimes figuring it out means coming back to you with a solution. Like, you do need to hire a specialist. I couldn't do it is okay. Like now you need coding. Let's get you a specialist from Fiverr or something. So that growth mindset, I mean, I see business owners just struggling with all of the things. They want someone who's going to take ownership of a couple, processes in their business. They need someone who's going to communicate and rise up to the challenge, not just do the minimal work. And so we talked about that too. Like they want the breakthrough hire. They want the superstar. They want the Roy Disney that goes along with Walt Disney, right? How do you think Walt Disney is so successful? He had support. No one talks about Roy. He's an intrapreneur, but you need an intrapreneur if you want to be successful. Every successful business owner is not doing it alone.
I agree. I honestly have gained as an entrepreneur a higher level of respect for the intrapreneur, because especially when you're in the theory phases, the entrepreneur seems to be, okay, well, they're doing it on their own, versus the intrapreneur, they have all of these limitations and stuff like that, where in the reality, it's this intrapreneur is someone who wants to be very good at what they do, but they just don't want to have the overhead. I was listening to a podcast, and the statement was, being number 5 at Facebook is just as good as being number 1. Almost. You have as much as the integration, you have the build, like the feeling that you help build something, you have the monies there, you just didn't have to take on the entire war chest of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of, that's kind of some of us freelancers, like we want to be behind the scenes. I wanted to be behind the scenes and put my brain on businesses, and we love supporting, we love helping. We're all part Enneagram 2 in the back end of things, but we just don't want to have all the risk, all the responsibility on our shoulders. We do want to be able to clock out at 5 o'clock because we're freelancers and we want a work balance. That doesn't mean we have a bad work ethic.
Right.
Work
other places.
Yeah. And I mean, the cool thing is the skills we develop, if we choose that, like I have now chosen creating a course, we have the skills to do it and we know what to do. And it's not for everybody. This isn't for everybody. It's okay to like be the entrepreneur and be the support person.
I absolutely agree. Now, you had mentioned before we jumped on that you were in the process of creating a brand new programming course.
Yeah.
You want to shed any light on that?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So I have a course that teaches digital marketing, and we have all types of virtual assistants who offer different skills. And so I'm really working on standardizing this role of a digital marketing assistant. It's like marketing mailroom, level 1, the task that a virtual assistant can help you. And I know there's like gray crossovers, like people say VA, but I like to say, like, what is your job title? Like, what are you doing? Are you an executive assistant? Are you an admin assistant? Are you a project manager? Are you a specialist in something? And so for years, I struggled with what I did. What did I do for clients? And it was a digital marketing assistant. So I teach my students, both men and women, how to help with that daily, weekly, almost like content grind that our clients are going through. So I teach email marketing. So you can just handle that entire process. Content marketing, SEO, blogging, affiliate marketing, social media marketing, but not necessarily the copywriting behind it, but making sure that we get our clients to stay consistent. That's probably like the number one thing in business is to stay consistent. We all struggle with that, right? Well, that's why we hire help. And so getting my people to do that. And from there, it can just branch out into so many things. I've had a lot of my students become online business managers, directors of operation, marketing managers, specialists. The other thing I teach is funnel building, like being able to update websites and create those funnels for clients. And so that's all in my Unicorn Digital Marketing Assistant School, which is that initial training I did for my agency. For all of those first 8 women, I started with SEO and I taught them my process for helping my clients grow and nurture and sell to their audience. And so I put that in a school. It's been very successful, and we're launching again. October, the doors are going to open for a live class. So it's been a whirlwind, because I always thought I'd be the girl behind the scenes. Like I never saw this for myself, and I just like couldn't ignore like the universe is slapping me in the face over and over. Like, you need to do this. You need to do this. So I'm doing it.
I love that for you. And I think that this has been an amazing conversation, and in 12 days that should be released. So we're absolutely going to be having that link in the description. So if you guys want, go go check out that course. It's going to be absolutely amazing. As someone who's even been doing this, I might go check out that course. So thank you so much for coming on today. Before we officially have to get you off of everything, we always like to ask 2 questions. One, what would be the advice you give to an upcoming VA that's starting an agency? And give us where can we find you on social media? Give us your shameless plug with everything you have going on.
Okay. Advice for someone starting an agency. I would say hire slow. Like really get those systems in place and make sure you're working through it. I think the biggest mistake I've seen is people bringing on too many people at once. And this happens on teams too. Like it takes time. And I've seen a lot of business owners who start with a team and then quit right away because everything got thrown at them and it was a burning fire and hard to figure out. So be organized, have those SOPs, have those trainings and how you like to do it. And I would absolutely like not rush it, like be in it for the long-term growth. I think that was one of the mistakes I did, was kind of going too fast, not having that people part of it kind of quite figured out, like the checks and balances. And also when you're talking to clients, like see that it's a team. So you don't get yourself in this position where they expect you to be doing just the work. Like, be very clear about it. Don't hide the fact that you might have a subcontractor. It doesn't look good to blame the subcontractor, which is why I took the fall when that one client had nothing done that week and fired me. I'm like, yep, that was on me. And the military do the same. It's like a chain of command thing. It's always like the superior officer who's responsible, right? It's never like the person below. So yeah, that would be my advice. And then I'm everywhere on social because I love marketing, but I have a podcast, Unicorns Unite. I have a YouTube channel and I'm having the most fun on Instagram, which I never thought I would. And I'm over there at Emily Reagan PR.
That's absolutely amazing. Again, you guys can go find her, Emily Reagan PR, across all social medias. She's been an absolutely amazing guest today. And this has been an amazing conversation. You guys, let me know if you really like this conversation. Comment below. If you're going to be seeing this on YouTube or anything, let me know in the comment section if you how much you like the conversation and maybe some of the things that you got from it. But again, Ramblers, you have been such an amazing audience, and I absolutely love talking with you, Emily. So I think they're going to love you as well.
All right. Thanks for having me. That was fun.
Hey Ramblers, that's it. Podcast is over. Don't leave yet though. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, and follow us on YouTube at OffSource HQ. We'll see you next time.